everybody, it's jrobi. I wanted to go over a nice little trap in the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit lines, and it's called the Halosar Trap, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with this trap, even if you're not regularly a d4 player. So I'm just going to dive right into it here. So as white, we're going to open up with pawn to d4, and if black plays pawn to d5, this is going to let us get into the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit lines by thrusting our own pawn forward now to e4. So we're offering this pawn up here on e4, and there's not really a way that we're going to be able to get it back right away. So black 9 times out of 10 is just going to capture that pawn, and from this position we're going to play our knight up now to c3, so we're going to attack it. Now black is going to do a development move to defend that pawn by playing knight up to f6, and we're going to push our f pawn up now to f3. Black will capture, and generally speaking in the main lines the knight would take here on f3, but for the trapping lines we're going to play queen takes on f3. Now what this is doing, of course, is it's leaving our pawn hanging here on d4, and we actually want black to come and capture that pawn, which they probably will do. So when black comes down to take that pawn, we're going to develop our bishop now to e3, and we're going to kick that queen away. And the queen's going to go over now to b4, attacking the undefended pawn here on b2, and it's also pinning down the knight to the king. So it's a nice little move that black will probably find relatively easily and play that. And from this position here, we're going to castle. Now this probably looks a little dubious because by castling we're giving black the option to bring the bishop down now to g4, and that's going to skewer our queen and our rook, but that's exactly what we want black to play. So if black does play that strong looking move with bishop to g4, black has just unleashed the floodgates for the Halosar Trap, because after this we can play a very nice move, knight to b5, and just take a look at the position that this creates. First of all, we have this monstrous rook sitting on d1, bearing down all along the d file, hemming in the black king here on e8. We have our bishop on f1 defending the knight here, and of course this knight is threatening checkmate in one move by capturing the pawn on c7. So black has to do something about this. Now black can't just capture the queen. Let's say that black says, okay, well I'm just going to get this piece off because my bishop is attacking your queen. Well, that's not a problem because we get to take the queen with check. So that means our queen's going to be able to get to safety, and black just drops a queen. So there's a nice little subtle trap there that your opponent might fall into. But if your opponent doesn't fall into that, probably what your opponent's going to play in this position is knight to a6. Now knight to a6, of course, is defending the pawn here on c7. And so what are we going to play in this position? Well, from here we're just going to snag up the pawn on b7. We're attacking the rook here on a8, and we're also attacking the knight here on a6. And once again, black has got some big decisions to make. For example, if black moves a rook over to c8 because the rook is defended by the bishop, he just drops a piece on a6, and we're going to be fine because our rook can't be taken, because if black comes down and takes our rook, we just capture the rook here and it's game over. So black definitely can't play that. So facing this position, what black will probably play is something like queen to e4, wanting to get the queens off the table. But from here we're just going to continue now. Queen takes knight on a6, and when black takes our bishop with check here on e3, we just need to swing our king over to safety on b1. And of course the beauty of the position is that we're still threatening checkmate with this knight here sitting on b5, taking the pawn on c7. So black has to do something about that. So black will move this queen over now to c5 to defend that pawn, and we're simply going to develop our knight now to f3. And what we're doing is we're taking away this bishop scope to attack our rook on d1. Now black has another threat in this position. b7 is a monster square. If we can get our queen onto b7, well, we can capture with check and then win the queen. So from here black has to defend against that, maybe rook to b8 to take away this square from the queen, and we're going to win the a7 pawn in this position by capturing with our knight. Play could continue as follow. Black can play queen over now to b6. We're just going to trade the queens off now, and we're sitting pretty here with a pass pawn once we hit the check here on b5. So we got a pass pawn on the a file, very active pieces. We have connected rooks. Black's position is just garbage. So it's a very nice trapping line with a lot of subtle possibilities all along the way for other traps that could win the opponent's queen and cause the opponent to lose the game even quicker. So I found that the Halosar Trap was definitely very interesting. I think, like I said at the beginning, you're going to have a lot of fun with this, whether you play d4 or not as your opening move, especially in your blitz games. You know, just try it out and see what you can make happen. So take care. Hope you have a great new year, and we'll see you next time.